Hello, everyone. Welcome to another special episode of Brace for Impact. It's the Brace for Impact Extras. It's episode 12. It's Parks on the far side, as always. But in the middle is our wonderful guest, Gonçalo. Oh, good afternoon, I guess, Gonçalo,
Hello.
right?
Hello. Thank you for having me.
How you
Amazing.
doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Kinda, no, not doing well, actually. Complexity just lost this morning, so kinda sad,
Yeah. Everybody
which
woke
stinks a
up.
bit.
Everybody woke up super early to watch Complexity. Like, it
I
was a
didn't.
really close series, though. Like, oh my god, that was
Yeah,
insanely
it was
close.
amazing, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't wake up early. I decided sleep was the priority. So I woke up and I went, "Oh, they lost. I'm gonna look at the highlights later." That's
Yeah, no, you missed an amazing final.
I imagine so.
Let's get into it then, right? Let's start, and I want to talk about your start in esports. So, like, because what we try to do here on Brace for Impact, or at least with the extras, is give a lot of different perspectives. So, like, players come on, and we've tried to cover players from every region. We've had coaches on, from different regions, but esports is so many different gears, right? From commentators to admins to even the people that report on it, right? So, how did you start following esports in general? And was Counter Strike the first one that you really followed?
No, so I am a gamer since I'm a kid, naturally. But when I turned 18, I I started following more esports because I couldn't play sports in real life because of college. So I started getting into it more because I was already watching esports like League of Legends and Rocket League. And then the pandemic hit, and I started watching Gaules streams
Okay. Yeah.
just for fun.
Yeah.
And then I started getting into Counter Strike, and then 2021, I think, I joined Rush B Media, and from there it just kind of snowballed.
Moment of silence for Rush B Media, by the
Oh,
way.
you don't have to
Yeah.
say that. It's their Dust
No,
Two
I mean,
no,
now.
it's like it's evolved into a
yeah,
broader
It's much more.
coverage
Yeah.
from us too. Like, it's not like it's
Rip,
you know
Rush B Media just died and then nothing came after it. No, no,
yeah,
they
exactly.
moved
No,
pretty
no.
people
The
get that
vibes
wholesale.
are
way.
still the vibes are similar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good
So
to know. Um, So then, okay, so yeah, you said 2021 you start watching Gauls and kind of moving that way, and then you joined Rush Media. What kind of led to that? Was it just kind of like you saw the applications kind of come out, and you're like, hey, I could try writing? Were you like writing beforehand? Is there something in your? Are you like going to school for journalism? Like where are we at with
yeah.
that?
So I am finishing my masters this year. So 2021 was my third year at
Okay,
journalism course. So I was always into writing, and my main goal is sports writing or even war journalism,
yeah,
more extreme. But I really like esports. And then one day during the pandemic, I saw the application. I was like, what the hell? I'm not doing anything at home, so might as well try my luck. And I was lucky enough to get a shot, and here we are.
yeah. Here
Yeah,
we
I think
are.
I think I remember Rush B did, like, I want to say it was 2 rounds of it too that they were looking
Two or
for
three,
writers. I think, yeah,
two or
there was
three
like a
rounds.
maybe, yeah, like a 3 or 4 month gap. But yeah, I do remember those adverts. Nice. So you're finishing your master's in journalism this year. So what is it? 5 years of
5 years,
college?
yeah.
Is that what? Wow.
Wow,
Okay.
3 years of bachelor degree and then +2 for
wow.
masters.
Okay.
Wow.
And so then,
Okay.
are you doing any journalism stuff outside of esports, or is it all just kind of right now Dust 2
Yeah.
centered?
Last year of a master's degree, normally in Portugal, we do an internship.
Right.
So I'm doing that right now. But I have plenty of time left to
Yeah.
focus on Counter-Strike as well. So it's really good. So I can have two different realities because at us to US, we work, work remote. They work remote as well, but
Yeah.
they are from the US. And here I'm working at a real newsroom. So it's a different feel. And I learn a lot of things that are not directly connected to esports, but that I can put on that field.
I want to ask about Dust 2 a little bit, and my main intention for the footnote that I made, Parks, was to ask about, like, what your experience has been working with
Yeah.
Dust 2. But before I get to that, I actually want to ask what led to like obviously you're Portuguese, right? And obviously there's a very expansive, equally expansive Dust2.br, subset of the Dust2 basically coverage. I don't know what you call it, umbrella, because there's also Dust2.dk. But what led to doing the coverage for Dust2.us as opposed to BR? And has there been talks about doing both or moving over to BR, or is it just not something you're interested in?
I joined us to US mainly because of Ryan, because he liked my work during Rush V Media. So, but then I joined before this 2BR existed. So
Right.
when it was created, I think someone in the chat of the Dust to US Discord server joked that I'll be joining Dust 2BR, but like it crossed my mind trying to send an application for a position, but I'm really happy to be working with the North American scene because I feel like there's much more space to grow as a journalist and the scene
Yeah.
itself. And so I don't want to change. I don't want to turn away from an A.
Right. Have you tried to do both at the same time, like do some BR articles
No,
as well?
no,
No, you just straight up said
no.
they've
Yeah,
got
yeah.
their own thing, they're handled. That's you know what that's an interesting perspective because I know like I mean if I had to do something, let's say I knew French fluently, I don't, but let's say I knew French fluently and like there was an opportunity for me to do something as well as in English, I might take that and just say, hey, I'm gonna try doing both, and then but no, you're straight up just saying I want US. That's pretty cool. I mean, I'm all for it. I love NA supporters,
Yeah.
so
No, I want to add one thing because as I'm a Portuguese speaker,
yeah.
I can help translate articles and do our own articles, but with a perspective from the Brazilian scene. So
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
is also helpful.
What
Sorry,
like
can I just
yeah.
Yeah,
add
yeah,
one more
yeah.
thing? Because I'm a Portuguese speaker and a lot of Brazilian players don't speak English. Uh, in Cologne, I had to interview some players, Brazilian players, because Jeff couldn't do it because
Right.
he doesn't speak Portuguese. So that's another plus. So
Yeah, that's really cool. Do you actually
So we're
find, sorry, I've got a real quick question here on that. Do you
yeah.
find that like when you do reporting for US for Dust2.us, like let's say with Team Liquid right now, they're reportedly picking up Skulls and Zeus. Are you look at the Dust2 Brazilian article coming through and you go, "Well, I can translate this really quickly so then I can add some of their reporting into the US side of the article or anything." Like does that happen a lot where you get kind of because there's Brazilian teams in NA, you're able to add more to the articles as a result?
no, yeah, yeah, because that's Brazil has more information of their own player about their own players.
Yeah.
We can always, not me personally, because the other guys always translate the articles with the Google Translate, of course. But we always pick things up, and they do the same, and the Dust2DK guys do the same. So it's like we are brothers
Yeah.
and sisters, and we work together. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. So talk to me about what it's been like having the Dust2.us gig, I guess you could say, for lack of a better phrase. But you know, what have you enjoyed about it most, and what have you found that's really been difficult about it?
Hmm. It's really hard to say because I don't see this as a job because it's something that I love to do. So some days I wake up and I check the Discord server and they're like, "Oh, we need to write about this," and I was just okay, I'll pick it up and do it in 5 minutes, and then what's next? Can you send me more? And then I think it was one of these days, like day I want to say, that I wrote like five articles in a day because I had nothing else to do, and so I just felt like it. And then there are days that I really don't feel like doing anything because there are so many news going on and it's just a bit too chaotic.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I get. That I can only imagine. It's like some days you're just like, what? You know what I mean? I don't know how to explain it. You just throw your hands up
When
at
we get,
something.
I mean, with us, it's just like every 2 weeks, you kind of you start looking through all the news that you go through in the past. It's like, wow, this all happened in the last 2 weeks. Like,
Yeah,
where
yeah.
did the time
And then
go?
we'll have
Yeah,
Like,
some
yeah.
episodes where we're like,
there's
is this?
nothing.
We gotta, yeah,
We gotta fill.
yeah.
um, Speaking on that though, like in filling up on all the esports side of stuff, I know we've noticed at least with Dust 2, you specifically have really picked up on covering the impact side of stuff. How has that kind of been like? First question, I guess, are you planning on coming to Valencia?
Yes, I already have my accreditation for Valencia, so I only need to check my flight, my hotel, and tell my mother. Then I'll be good to go.
Amazing. That's awesome. I'm so glad. I will get to see you then because I'm going to Valencia, so that'll be really
Oh,
cool.
nice.
Yeah.
And
Um,
I think I saw
He's
that
just been
Benny.
flexing it every
every
episode now at
single
this
time I
rate.
can.
Yeah, I saw that you will be going as well. No, Benny?
I probably not. No, unfortunately. So not
Last
this
minute
time.
bills,
It's one of these
unfortunately.
things where it's like I can either go to Valencia or I can go to Katowice. Assuming we get Katowice,
Yeah.
like assuming it's going to be
Mhm.
Katowice. I have a feeling it will be, but I would probably go to Katowice then, right? So, and if I
Okay.
went to Valencia, it'd be like a rush job. You know what I mean? I'm
Yeah,
trying to get the tickets,
Oh,
and it's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
no, no, no,
expensive.
just save up and plan for 2024. Um, I do want to talk a little bit more about Impact because how have you like what made you decide to start covering the scene and what have you like is it something that you've always enjoyed like the women's game more than the men's game or is it just something where you look at there's constantly a lack of coverage and you feel you can provide expertise that maybe somebody else doesn't have what's really led to picking up the coverage of the impact scene.
Uh, so when I first joined us to US, we were like 8 writers there, and I thought to myself, I need to do something different from the rest of the team, and pick something up. And for on one, sorry, on one hand, I need to make a name for myself, and on the other hand, I need to support a scene that doesn't have much support.
Yeah.
And so that was one of the reasons. Another reason is that one thing that I learned on my degree is that we as journalists have the responsibility to bring news to people that people don't really look for. And so the women's scene was growing, and I didn't see many people talking about it, so I got into it. It doesn't really have anything to do about the game itself because I personally don't understand the game like you guys do because you cast every game, and I I want to say that I don't really care about the game. I love it, of course, but it's more about the people and the community. So that's it.
Yeah, the huge amount of
Yeah.
coverage that you can provide as you're getting more eyes on it because you get people that from all ranges of like, hey, I just watched Team Liquid play and I just read their what to expect for them going up against FaZe. Oh, the next article right below it is the weekly recap of FlyQuest Red beating up on everybody again. So
You don't have to put it like that, Parks.
what?
NA's been really
It's been
actually.
really good this season.
It's
Actually,
been
I'm
very
I'm
good this
very
season.
pleased.
But I think it's it I guess warms my heart a little bit to hear you say that because that's kind of how I first started as well. But it's very I don't know how to express this, so I'm just gonna say it, and I don't mean anything by it. There's no tone or anything that I'm putting on it, but I feel like there's still some areas of the impact scene that you're right, like it needs more support. Like years ago, when I first started commentating, we didn't really have a lot of commentators in the scene. We had Grumpy, we had me, we had Fearless, we had I think D7 did some as well, but it was like most of them were European, and then Grumpy and I were the only two Americans. And now you look at the scene and it's like I could name you 5 Americans who cover Impact or Canadian, in
Thanks.
Parks' case. I know you're the odd one out. Anyway, it's you know what I mean. And then you have a whole slew of. So it's like that's improved, and now with the Dust 2 side of it, in terms of the reporting, you have a few that do some in Brazil as well for Dust2.br, and it's like that. It's a huge step up. Like it's a huge gain that the scene has had. It's not quite enough yet on the reporting side. Like I don't know what Dust2.br I think it's DK for
Yeah,
Denmark, but
Denmark.
I don't know anything that they report. I actually haven't seen it, so I don't know how well they cover the Impact scene, especially given that there's like 4 or 5 women's Danish teams. But it is nice to hear that like there is people identify the need like yourself and then go out and actually provide the coverage. Like that's a huge bonus for the scene, I think. Moving out of the monologue side and back onto the questions. I want to talk about the actual Impact scene itself now, right? And um, as a viewer, what do you think the scene has really been able to accomplish, and in terms of what have they really done right that has helped grow the game?
they they have captivated a lot more people to join the leagues. And we can see that with this season because everyone is so good. I don't think there was a season that was this close. So that's the main thing about the Impact scene is bringing people together. And because of I want to say that I am part of it because of my coverage. Someone was like, "Oh, let me search more about it and let me join a team." And that's that's the strongest point. Yeah.
No, I agree. And I think
100%.
you could, yeah, and I think you could say you're part of it. I think it takes everybody. I always say it takes everybody.
Yeah.
Tournament admins, like, there's so many people behind the scenes, and then obviously the broadcasters, the journalists, and then the players themselves, So
It's a lot of it's a lot of work to write articles. I tried it. I tried actually writing articles for the NA, and I think in season 3, I had the website. The website's still up and everything. I wrote 2 weeks worth, and I was like, I'm writing too much. This is taking too long. We're gonna cut it here. And then you started doing your articles, and I was like, perfect. I don't even have to worry about it anymore. Somebody else can do it for me.
FaceTime got put on ice, didn't it?
Yeah, it got put on ice fast.
There are
Um,
some articles that are a pain in the ass. Yeah. The recaps they take a lot of time because I have to watch all games
yeah.
for the highlights.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Somebody's got to start making highlight packages for us, man. We got like Vladopart or
Oh,
whatever.
I
please.
made giraffe leaves yesterday. You didn't think it was funny.
It was
so
not
I
funny.
just-
It was not funny at all. Don't even try to pass as funny. It's literally just like he's watching. I want to say it was the South African Cash Cup,
It was.
and
It
he's
was.
it's just
Yeah.
like somebody's like there's like the giraffe plushie on Overpass, and all it is them
So-
like knifing
That's
and
the
shooting it,
point.
and he's
That's
like
the whole
giraffe
joke.
highlights, and I'm like what's happening?
No, it was funny.
Oh my god. Okay.
Subjective
Anyway.
humor, I
Found it
guess.
funny. Yeah.
Moving on. We mentioned, getting all the coverage and, getting a very competitive scene. When you look at Impact kind of from the bird's eye view as a journalist, what have you noticed that kind of it doesn't really seem to be working or it hasn't been done correctly, at least from like a viewership and also a journalist point of view?
One of these days, I was thinking that it can't be just ESL promoting these events. Someone like Blast should create not the same type of league,
Yeah.
but try to innovate the format, even to experiment for the tier 1 events.
Mm-hmm.
They could use a women's league for that, and maybe add another what's the word, standalone event like ESL Katowice Impact.
Yeah.
And I think that people have been talking about it a lot, that ESL in this case, they should add the women's matches as the instead of show matches before
Yeah.
the grand finals of big
Yeah.
events. I'm a big fan of that. I haven't thought about it a lot, but I think that might work. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like
We've
that.
mentioned that very much on the pod before as well. Like that's. Yeah.
Dallas would have been interesting with that as well. I don't know. The
Mhm.
timing of it was a bit weird because I know it was actually the opposite, where basically like Dallas finished before the grand finals of Impact Season 3, and so everybody left from Dallas, and like a crap ton of them were all of a sudden in the seats, and so it looked amazing. Like the whole thing was full. There was a ring of people behind, but like for the majority of the tournament, the seats had been pretty empty. But like I don't mind that, and I mean, I would love to have it as a show match. I think like you get something like the Cashes down in Sydney, and like that's great because it's got a bit of a legacy to it. But yeah, like just these random show matches before like Katowice and all that. Like, if the schedule works out in a good way, you can get the women's final in before the actual final, and then you get 2 finals worth. And I think with MR12 that actually becomes a lot more feasible because the timing is like
Yeah.
cut in certain ways that makes it really nice. Um, so this one's a bit weird because it's a bit of an interesting question. I want to say, because we talked about maybe getting another TO in like Blast and just having standalone events. As of right now, Impact has been around for 2 years. And there's no confirmation that they're going to continue, but they've kind of set it forward that there's probably going to be another at least year or two of Impact. What do you look at, just as the outside perspective and say, this is the legacy that this will leave if, even if it gets one more year or 2 years, or even if it just stopped right now, like what is the legacy that we're going to see from this play, I guess, from Impact? It's a weird question, I know.
Yeah, I would say that ESL Impact would leave a good legacy, mainly because of the many names that they have brought to the scene.
Yeah.
You know, uh, I see potential for having something greater, but I'm also afraid that ESL will leave Impact behind because it doesn't have as much viewership. They have more costs and less return, and in a way, I'm happy that the Saudi Arabians are taking over because they could invest
Yeah.
or make it last longer at least. So that's
Yeah.
a positive, but I think ESL Impact leaves a great legacy.
That's a good point as well, and the costs and everything. Like,
Yeah.
even as much as we, berate and talk about how bad it is that we were getting kind of sports washed from the Saudi side, they got a lot of money. They can kind of sit there and go, well, what's $1 million? I've got 2 billion sitting in the bank. I get
What's
it.
7 figures?
What's 7 figure?
Yeah, exactly.
That's how they. I think that's how
no.
they think. I don't know. I look at
It is the paradox of the situation, isn't it? Though
Yeah.
it's that's the problem. So, um, I want to talk. I just have really like one or two more questions about
Yeah.
Impact, and then we'll kind of shift back to you as personally. But what do you think are what would if you were in charge? I would say this, right? You're leading the Impact scene. What would your ambitions be for the Impact scene going forward? Like, what is something that you would say? You said that there's definitely the potential for more. I think Parks and I both agree with that. I mean, we've
We
been on
say
this
it.
show many times before about what they can do better. But what would your ambitions be for, let's just say for next year, for 2024?
For 2024, I'd say like have have a more competitive European scene, or have someone beat Nigma Galaxy. That
Yeah,
would be the main goal of.
I think that's everybody's goal.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest with you.
No, but in general, I think that the people behind the ESL Impact, they should be looking at the future and say we want to have a women's team, make run not into the major, but getting closer to reach the major, and have women's team joining local events in like a CCT Europe or CCT SA, like we've had the Fluxo Demons, I think,
Yeah.
in
Yeah,
Brazil
and
once,
FlyQuest in
and
North
yeah,
America. Yeah.
and so and also mixed teams like
Mm.
women and men, like we saw BBN at the ISF.
Yeah.
Uh, that would be the main goal, to integrate women in the men's scene, because it's not men's scene, it's tier one. But I think that would be the main goal.
I
I
like
like
it.
that.
I like it. I just want to ask lastly about I should say your future ambitions, right? Do you intend to, because it's interesting you mentioned it's the last year of masters, because obviously after school it's like night and day, man. The whole
Oh,
thing changes.
yeah.
But what are your plans going forward? Do you plan on continuing after college with Dust 2? Do you plan on shifting your focus? What are your ambitions going forward?
I haven't really thought about it, but esports isn't really profitable, so I'll probably be looking at another at another field. But I'll try my best to keep doing this. even if it's just a side project. But
Yeah.
I really like the community and the guys that I work with. So I want to stick with them as long as I can. That's the objective. Yeah.
And so you kind of do what you're doing right now, where you've got like an internship, but you're also doing the esports stuff on the side. You kind of
Mm-hmm.
you try to continue to do that. I
Try
mean,
to balance. Yeah.
that's what we all do, I think, at this point. I mean, I have a full time job and then come home and cast every night. Benny's pretty much the same, and I can't think of anybody in NA who really like full timers or like FlyQuest Red, EG Gold, and that's probably where it ends. Because I mean, like Tsunami
Yeah.
Sirens and all those guys, and they're not huge orgs either. Yeah, there's not a lot out there when you really think about it. There's not a lot of orgs out there, at least in NA, that just kind of, yeah, you're paid full time and whatever. This is your job, and like you do nothing else. There's a lot of people that just kind of half and half it. So, I mean, yeah, that's one of those things. Yeah, I don't know, Benny. Do you have any last questions here? Because we're running low on time, but we've also kind of
Yeah,
hit
I
all our
do.
points here.
I do. What I guess the last question is the work that you've done. First off, it's fantastic, right? And I even have other questions I would have loved to ask you, but we are running close to time. But what is one thing that working with Dust 2 and previously Rush B, what is one thing that you're going to take out of, this working with these orgs into, the rest of the journalistic field? Because my assumption is that you're going to be going into or trying to go into the journalism field right after Masters, right? So what's one thing that you're going to take or that you think you can take from having worked with it on the esports side into the rest of the field?
The main thing about the esports side is that there are a lot of different people with different cultures and all that. So being able to talk with many different people made me more comfortable with talking, even in English, because I'm not a native English speaker. So
You're doing
I'm
great so
still a
far.
bit nervous.
You're doing great.
Thank you. But for example, during IM Cologne, I had to interview in English, and I wasn't comfortable enough with doing that on video, and so I stuck with audio interviews. But going forward, I think that I feel comfortable, and that's all because I have been able to do this amazing job, and I'm very thankful for having the opportunity.
Amazing.
Well, we're very thankful for having you cover this
Yeah,
thing. It's been fantastic, I gotta say.
Thank you guys for inviting me.
100%. Do you have any shout outs before we wrap up the episode here? The floor has been yours. It's going to continue to be yours now. Any
I
shout
have a
outs?
lot of shout outs.
Perfect.
So I want to do a general one to the Death to US guys. To you guys that support the Impact scene. And to my parents that support me. They aren't going to watch this. So I'll tell them when I call
Yeah.
them late at night. But yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Amazing.
Excellent stuff. Well, that will conclude Brace for Impact Extras, episode 12. Thank you so much, Gonçalo, for coming on. It's a pleasure to have you. And we look forward to more of your coverage. Parks, thank you very much. And thank you, all of you, for watching. We will see you next week for the return of the regular episodes of BFI. Until then, take care.